All right, my name is Ryan Dietrich. I'm with Sharp CFO based here in Cleveland, Ohio. We are currently recording a webinar with Tom McCrone of Custom Cleaning and Maintenance out of Willoughby, Ohio. The purpose of this webinar today is to high-level discuss cleaning and maintenance best practices for returning to work. As a CFO service with our clients, this topic is specific to the risk management category, where especially all of us returning back to work, we have office buildings and we have staff and visitors and employees that we all have to protect. And more now than ever, because of the COVID pandemic, there's going to be a lot of risk to manage with that, to make sure that people are safe when they get back to their office. And when I'm going to your office, am I going to feel safe? And so Tom, again, has prepared a great presentation for us. I'll let him introduce himself and a little bit about the company, and then he'll go through. And then at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. And Tom, take it away.
Thank you very much for having me, Ryan. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak on this, and also hopefully to educate some folks, and as always, learn a bunch myself, because business in general, and especially in these ever-changing times, we learn many different things every single day. So thank you for the forum. I appreciate it. Again, this is just a presentation I put together, just some observations that we as a company have made, both on our current commercial customers as well as internally as a company. And I hope that you find some of these things useful, and maybe you can take them and make them your own, build on them, make them better, and hopefully share those best practices with our company and with others as well. So thank you. I'm just going to introduce myself real quick. My name's Tom McCrone. I'm the Director of Operations and Business Development for the commercial division of Custom Cleaning and Maintenance. We are a residential and commercial cleaning and janitorial company located in Willoughby, Ohio, which is an eastern suburb of Cleveland. We've been in business for almost 36 years. And actually, we commercially, including our office staff, we employ over 75 people. So that slide is actually a little outdated. So that's a little bit of my background. The presentation is very high level, as Ryan said, but there are some references to what is going on in Ohio specifically. So if you're joining us from out of state, welcome. Some of these things might be slightly different for you. I'm not familiar with how other states are handling reopening and things like that. So I can only speak to Ohio, but if you have any questions or need any help with anything, I'd be more than willing to research any way I can and help you in your respective states if that's a possibility. So thank you. Quick outline of what I'd like to discuss with you today. As I said, this epidemic and the news that follows it is ever changing. So I was going to give a brief overview of recent events. We did have some recent changes yesterday, and I believe we had some more changes today. So again, this slide may even be out of date. But I just want to briefly go over what is happening in Ohio in the coming week or weeks as we prepare to formally reopen some segments of the economy. And then I would like to go over some observations and some what we consider best practices of our customers on the commercial side that we have seen our customers implement, that I would like to share with you as business owners and folks that are running business for their respective businesses, whether you're in a safety management role or you're a C-suite level executive who would like to pass this information down to the folks that handle those things for you. Next, if you're choosing or you're thinking of implementing a contracted cleaning or janitorial service, I'm just going to go through some things that you may want to consider when you're interviewing them or observing your current provider, questions you can be asking just to make sure that you're on top of the ever-changing techniques, chemicals, methods, things that can or should and hopefully are being performed in your facilities to keep you and your staff and your visitors safe. Lastly, we're going to talk briefly about what the new normal might look like from a facility standpoint, as far as visitors coming in and out of your facility, vendors, employees, and how that might look. I think, we've all learned a lot through technology over these past, 1.5 to 2 months, and the landscape is ever changing. So we're just going to shed some light on that and hopefully get your thoughts. And then finally, I'm going to open it up for any questions or any discussions you'd like to have. And like I said, my hope is that we can all learn from each other here. So with that being said, I'm going to move on. So in Ohio here, if you're following the news, we do have a tentative timeline for certain segments of the economy returning to work. So this Friday, May 1st, the governor has okayed medically necessary procedures to be performed. So from my understanding, this is your basic doctor visits, dental visits, well care visits, veterinary clinics, and the such. I believe non-staying surgical procedures. So if you have an outpatient surgery that you need or can be performed, I believe those are allowable starting Friday, May 1st. And on May 4th, which is Monday, this is kind of our sweet spot, at least with our company and perhaps your businesses if you're joining us on the call. The governor has opened up general offices, manufacturing, and construction businesses. Now, we have been cleaning for a lot of businesses that have been deemed essential. So many of our customers have remained open throughout this epidemic. So it hasn't had a great effect on some of the business up here, but that may not be the case with your business or with your customers. So just keep that in mind. And then May 12th, which I believe is the following Tuesday, we're looking at opening consumer, retail, and services to kind of go along with that. So that's where we're at in Ohio as far as a timeline. So mid-May, we're looking at a considerable uptick in population out on the streets, businesses open, and people entering and exiting facilities that businesses like ours are responsible for maintaining healthy and safe. So one more slide. These are 5 bullet points that the governor typically goes through every day, and they're very all-encompassing. They're very universal. So I just wanted to read through these real quick. Specifically, the face coverings. I'm pretty sure the governor and his staff have gone back and forth on this a few times in the last 8 to 12 hours. At first, it was mandatory for everyone in public when they enter a business to be wearing a mask, whether it's an employee or a visitor. And then I believe they may have rolled that back to just the employees and not the visitors. And then right before I walked in here, I caught wind that they may have reverted back to everyone wearing masks. So it's very fluid, it's ever changing. Our main concern is just making sure everyone's healthy and safe. So no matter where you stand on that side of the coin, those are the suggestions or mandates that our government has put in place. I'll talk more about conducting daily health assessments, especially when you have a remote staff like we do, but we're seeing it a lot with our customers as well. Just maintaining, self-care, and when you come on premises, businesses having checks and balances in place to assure that the folks that are entering their facility are not showing symptoms of being sick and are safe to work and safe to be around other people. Good hygiene, it's a hallmark of what we do from a health standpoint, but now more than ever, there's a greater focus on proper hand washing, sanitizing, social distancing. It's just part of our normal verbiage now. Social distancing, it's our buzzword. So in addition, through every shift, we're cleaning. We're seeing our customers spending a great deal of time cleaning and sanitizing their work areas, paying special attention, especially if there's 2 or 3 shifts where multiple people are using the same workstation in a given 24-hour period. Just staying on top of that so as to not cross-contaminate. And again, I'll speak more to this as we get into what we're seeing our customers doing as far as best practices, but we've seen some pretty unique social distancing methods from some of our customers, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of those with you. So moving on. Can you hear me okay, Ryan? Perfect. Best practices as far as what we've seen from a customer standpoint, and also what we implement here in our office. I spoke about self-monitoring, and basically, if you have any symptoms or you feel ill, common sense should tell you to stay at home. If you're running a fever, stay at home, consult a physician. And we ask you to stay at home until you're cleared by a doctor to return to work. That might be weeks, and we understand that. Our primary concern is the health and safety of our employees and the health and safety of the employees of the facilities that we perform services for. From a social distancing standpoint, we've seen customers split shifts. We clean for a law firm that they have 2 shifts. They have a 6 a.m. to noon shift where half their staff comes in and works for 6 hours, and then they have a noon to 6 p.m. shift. And they alternate every week. Or if you're an early bird and you prefer the 6 a.m. shift, the idea is to get 50% of the staff out of the building where there's less chance for for someone catching an illness from someone else in the building. So if you reduce the number of people, you reduce your chances, hopefully, of catching anything that person might bring into the building. I won't spend too much time on it, but obviously there's a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of Facebook videos. I've learned a lot as far as proper hand washing. There's a technique that you can Google. It's very informative and very helpful, and we really hammer that into our staff. And I'll speak more about glove changing and hand washing in a few slides. I spoke about the governor's suggestions or mandates about cleaning your workstation, but this is what we're seeing at our facilities. We see a lot of disinfectant wipes or sprays at desks of folks that are working, and every day they're wiping down what we call FTOs, frequently touched objects. So keyboards, mouses, hand railings, doorknobs, panic bars, you name it. If it's frequently touched, it's a point of interest, and we're paying special attention to it, and so are our customers. We do service some trucking companies. We may not clean the inside of the trucks at all of them, but what we're seeing are the drivers, consistently wiping down steering wheels, radios, shifters, door handles, things like that. And then in the warehouse, pallet jacks, control panels on machinery, and things like that. So, the more vigilant you are as a company, the more you, indoctrinate that and instill that in your staff, I think your greater probability that people stay healthy and be safe at work. Now, from a contracted cleaner provider, if you have a contracted cleaning provider, these are some questions you may want to ask yourself and maybe in turn ask them. Just some things to consider. I really feel, when we talk more about the new normal, we're no longer just in there emptying trash cans and vacuuming and mopping floors. The situation we're in has made us all become as fast experts as we can in our field, in viruses, in disinfectants and things like that. So these are suggested best practices. If you're doing these, great. If you're not, you may want to consider it. We're just trying to get better at these things every day. So we would suggest this. From a cleaning standpoint, ask them what their self-monitoring policy is. Our cleaners, of course, it's a remote position. So our cleaners are typically coming from either their first job or home or somewhere else to go clean in the evening at one of our customers. So if they have any symptoms, if they feel ill, any inclination at all, they are to call in and call off. We've got supervisors, myself, anyone available to cover an account who is cleared, temperature taken, and ready to fill in at a moment's notice should the need arise. So it's no different than it was a few months ago, where if you feel sick or you feel like you're coming down with a fever, don't take a chance of coming to work. It's just a lot more serious now. So keep self-monitoring, but now the isolation aspect is very important. And again, if you do show symptoms, we require a physician's letter. So you may want to require that of your provider as well. What we're seeing at a lot of our big manufacturing facilities where they have a lot of people walking in and out, and some have gotten very creative, they are taking the external temperatures via infrared scanner of everyone that enters their building, whether it's a vendor, a truck driver, cleaning companies, visitors, employees. So these companies are keeping a log, first and last name and temperature of everyone that enters their building. I even have some companies that once you've been checked, you get a sticker. It's basically a 6 for 6 foot different distance. It's a 6 foot sticker. Lets everyone in the building know that you've been checked, you're cleared to work there, and it's just a reminder to maintain your social distancing as you're working with other people and you're in and around people, whether it's in the lunchroom or in the office and things like that. I would make sure that the folks that are in your building are equipped with the proper PPE, especially if they're working in contact with your employees. So masks, gloves, booties, which are shoe coverings. Shoe coverings they can be tough to work in. However, it's just another barrier of protection. Either someone entering your building with shoes on could be bringing something from, another company or their home or somewhere into your facility. And conversely, a cleaning employee may not want to bring potentially a pathogen from a business that are cleaning back home. So it's always good to furnish and have those items available to your cleaning staff or the staff of the folks that you contract out. So we're going through a lot of gloves, and I think that's probably industry-wide, which is good. That means that we are on top of the health and safety standpoint of these ever-changing times. So we're changing gloves frequently, especially between points of cross-contamination. We're washing our hands thoroughly in between glove changes, just not taking any chance. So those, just kind of expounding on the PPE aspect, that's very important. There's these barriers keep our employees safe and keep your employees safe as well. Greater hand washing frequency. In places where soap, water is not available, hand sanitizer is the next best thing. Again, using the techniques that you can find online, getting under the fingernails and fingertips and things like that with the hand sanitizer can only serve you well in trying to prevent, any sort of contamination. 6 feet distancing, you may want to ask your janitorial company, if they are coming, let's say right after hours. For example, our company cleans some accounts, right after 5, right after their shifts let out. If there are still people in the office, a lot of our customers have asked us maybe to start in a different area, just maintain distancing, keep those areas, keep the distance between our cleaners and your staff at a safe distance. Changing out rags more frequently, mop heads, just doing what we can from an inventory standpoint, from a tool standpoint to, limit our exposure and limit our customers' exposure to anything that might harm them. We've even seen customers implement every other parking space distancing in their employee parking lots, where, you can't have 2 cars parked next to each other. I guess time will tell if this is, too much. But in the meantime, we have to respect, our customers' wishes, and also in our minds, any extra precaution that we're learning from a customer and we can implement with our staff is going to keep our staff healthy and safe and better equipped to take care of their facility. And again, we are using, I'll get into the chemicals a little bit, just very high level, but we are using a quaternary spray predominantly, which is a virucidal and pH neutral disinfectant that's effective against COVID-19, SARS, influenza. It's a hospital grade disinfectant. So I would definitely ask your janitorial company what kind of chemicals they're using, and go from there, because again, in addition to our normal duties, what is becoming the new normal is spraying those FTOs, those frequently touched objects that we discussed: doorknobs, panic bars, tabletops, flat surfaces, railings, fixtures in the bathroom, things like that. I'll talk about the quat a little bit right now, I believe. Real quick, I wanted to just briefly give you a little dirt lesson. There's basically 3 levels of clean, and we're always striving for disinfecting, especially at this point. Cleaning is the removal of visible dirt. Sanitizing is really based on the specific testing for that product, but typically you sanitize to a certain level of microorganisms on a surface, and depending on the kill claim for that sanitizer, it either passes or fails, per the manufacturer. Disinfection is exactly what it sounds like. We're removing 100% of the microorganisms from a surface. And this really, we feel, if it's not the new goal now, it will be in the near future. Most of the disinfectants on their label will share a specific dwell time. In other words, a specific time that the product needs to sit on a surface in order to claim that it kills 100% of microorganisms. A good difference between sanitizing and disinfecting as well. Sanitizing, I believe, needs to air dry, whereas disinfecting, if it achieves its dwell time, can be wiped off with a microfiber rag or a rag of some sort, in addition to being able to air dry. So this is actually from the CDC website, and we've been very familiar with that even before coronavirus came into our lives. We just want to make sure that we're maintaining healthy people and healthy facilities. But I wanted to briefly go over 3 frequently talked about and discussed disinfectants, and then talk to you lastly about quaternary disinfectant and why we use it in our facilities, and why you may want to see if it's available and question your janitorial company and see if they can get it if not. Bleach is probably the best known disinfectant in the world, but bleach can be harmful and very irritant if it's mixed with the wrong product. It can ruin carpet. It's very irritating to the mucous membranes. And really, we have one customer that specifically requests bleach. We dilute it, and it's our only customer. And truthfully, we would not use it if they did not specifically request it. Secondly, any isopropyl alcohol that's 70% pure alcohol or above can be used to disinfect. It's very hard to transport. It's not safe. It's flammable. It can be harmful. It can dull surfaces. The smell can be irritating. There's a lot of reasons that people don't want to use alcohol, and we have to be respectful of our customers and their wants and needs, as well as our staff. So we've been fortunate enough to have a supply of quaternary disinfectant through a number of our sources and suppliers and vendors. Quat is neutral pH, so it's safe on just about every surface. It's virucidal. Like I had said, it does have a kill claim against strands that are even stronger than coronavirus, which has been around since the 1960s, which I just read that today. So this is nothing new. It's just it's aggressive. So we are actually armed with quaternary disinfectant, residentially and commercially. And again, as I spoke to, in addition to our normal duties, we are spraying as many touch points as possible at every service with quat spray, letting it dwell, and then going back and wiping. So, for example, if I was doing a hallway full of doorknobs, we would spray all the doorknobs, let it sit, let it dwell, perhaps do the whole hallway or both sides of the hallway, and keeping track of your 4 to 6 minute dwell time, depending on the specific quat. By the time you get back to that first doorknob, you can typically start wiping with a microfiber rag and properly disinfecting that. It's sat for long enough. Just one sec here. I didn't put a slide in here, but again, I'd reach out to your vendors. They have really been our greatest asset. They are, we're not chemists, and we're not, we know quite a bit, as far as techniques and products used and how to most effectively and cost efficiently clean and disinfect a facility. But any specifics, regarding SDS sheets or health and safety issues with the chemicals, I would urge you to reach out to your vendors, or get more information from your janitorial companies on their vendors, and just make sure that they're doing their due diligence as well. Some ancillary services that are definitely becoming more prevalent due to coronavirus and disinfection. You'll see a lot of ads for foggers. I believe there's a large company that makes a fogger where they actually come in, and it's similar to like a bug fog where the facility needs to be empty, an office needs to be empty. They come in at night and just release a fog that is a high level disinfect. UV light disinfecting, not as effective, but it is out there. We have actually, we've taken advantage of electrostatic spraying service. This is actually spraying what's called hydrochloric acid, which not hydrochloric acid. It is, it's similar to pool chlorine. It's virucidal, but it produces an organic molecule, so it's safe. It doesn't produce a caustic molecule like normal chlorine would. And the neat thing about an electrostatic sprayer, and I actually brought one here, when you spray it, it actually produces a charge. You're grounded, and it sprays the chemical, and the electrostatic mechanism actually allows it to wrap around an entire surface. For example, a spherical doorknob, you can just spray it on contact and it'll wrap around the entire doorknob. So what it does is it actually gets that disinfectant in areas that, maybe your cleaning company or your cleaning personnel cannot get, on a normal service or during a normal shift. So it's just,
that's actually
just
really
another,
interesting. What
another,
goes in?
I'm sorry?
What goes in the gun? Like, what do you put in the gun?
Yeah, so this actually you fill this with water, 32 ounces of water, and you drop a tablet in here that dissolves after about 5 minutes, locks up. It's battery operated. I didn't bring the battery. And then it's got 3 different settings depending on the type of material that you're disinfecting. And, typically a tank covers about 1,000 square feet. Battery lasts about 4 hours. It's good in most circumstances. I wouldn't recommend it for a gigantic warehouse, but it certainly has its place. And truthfully, we're learning more every day. So in addition to that, we are exploring other other ancillary services to kind of fight this and to be another resource for our customers. So
sure.
Yeah,
that's pretty neat though. That's cool.
It is cool. Thank you very much. Lastly, I just want to talk about the new normal as we see it here at Custom Cleaning, and you may or may not agree. I know Ryan and I spoke briefly about a week ago, coming from a C-suite level or a CFO standpoint, a lot of the decisions made to contract with our company or any janitorial company may not always make it up to the CFO in the past. Usually, we're dealing with a facility manager, a maintenance manager, or a controller, or someone like that. But due to health and safety reasons, financial reasons, we're seeing a lot of these decisions made at a higher level. So I think it is important. It's important for everyone in the company to get on board, to have a clear understanding of your expectations for your janitorial company, and get as many people involved as possible. We really anticipate, with some of these new methods, new products, we anticipate probably a little higher learning curve. So training is going to be of utmost importance. It'll affect the type of cleaning candidate that companies are going to hire. It's going to become a more specialized field. With more specialty, usually creates a higher price. You're gonna have to pay these people a little bit more. You have to train them more. There's resources that are involved there. We may see higher insurance premiums due to risk. We really don't know. A lot of this is unknown right now. This is just what we're anticipating and trying to stay ahead of, while still remaining loyal to our core values and what got us here in the first place, but kind of looking to the future and just anticipating some potential challenges, roadblocks, but also opportunities. From a customer standpoint, I mean, we're on a Zoom right now. Like, I don't think anybody knew what Zoom was, 2 months ago. At least I didn't. I'm sure Ryan probably did. But I'm not a super technologically savvy person. And I mean, I'm on 5 Zoom calls a week. So, you're going to see skeleton staffs. You're going to see people, my wife's a nurse and she works from home many days a week. That wasn't normal 2 months ago. So my point is, I think, split shifts, workforce reduction, if you can do your job from home 2 days a week, have at it. We really see that happening. And that can also affect the amount of dirt, trash, things that enter a facility that would need our services. So there might be a trade-off, if you're paying more, say, for a service because of higher soft costs, maybe the work that our people or janitorial companies need to do within a facility, from a time standpoint is reduced because the people in the facility are reduced. These are all things that we're still learning and trying to wrap our hands around, so to speak. So I hope that was helpful for you. I did want to include a few websites before I give you my contact information. Well, here's my contact information. As I'm sure some of you may not be in our area, but feel free to ever reach out to me if you have any questions or any suggestions, or if something's worked for you that you'd like to share with me. I would love to hear from you. That's our address, my office, my cell phone, my email. And I think Ryan can share this with you as well when we get off the call. And then 2 websites that we're on a daily basis, CDCgov, just to make sure we're on top of recommended chemicals or disinfectants to use. And in Ohio, just to get the updates from the governor, if you're not able to watch his 2 o'clock briefings every day, coronavirus.ohio.gov. So that is it. If anyone has any questions or comments, I'll open it up.
Yeah, I know that I think a big thing you and I had talked about was the different types of products to use to clean your building, right? I mean, right. The most, like you said, the most well-known product is bleach, and
right.
Even the CDC says use bleach. Both kind of being in the business, it's not there's anything. Yeah, it has the kill claims and it kills it, but is there anything more you can add as far as the kinds of products that are out there? Maybe even some of the green products that are labeled as being able to kill, or any green products, disinfectants, and what does that even mean?
Yeah, you know what? I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I have not heard of any green products that are making that claim, especially from a commercial standpoint. I'd be more than happy to do some more research on that. But so not an issue, but green products typically, I mean, quite often, regular disinfectants, there's a cost to them, from maybe a health or irritant standpoint, but they tend to do a better job in killing and in disinfecting. I am not familiar with any green products, and if anybody is and could share that with me, we do get asked that from time to time, more so on the residential side than the commercial side, just because people obviously are very particular about the products used in their homes. But to my knowledge, or at least to my immediate knowledge, from a green standpoint, I don't know of anything that has that kill claim. And I know you've got some chemical background. Are you familiar with anything that in your years at your previous employer, was there anything that could make that claim?
No, and actually what we were taught was that a green product can't be a disinfectant. It
Makes
just
sense.
Yeah, because of the chemical makeup of it.
Right.
That a green product is supposed to be, green products might use organisms
Right.
in it to make it green, but a disinfectant kills organisms. So,
right.
But you
Right.
can't really have both.
So where a green product might be safe to return to the environment, um, yeah, it's maybe a high level sanitization, but from a disinfection standpoint, I'm not familiar with it.
Right,
But
right.
I'll definitely make sure.
Yeah. What about wearing, the gloves and the masks? I mean, we all
Mhm.
see it out there
Mhm.
in the stores that we're in and all that.
Right.
Um, again, coming from the background that both you and I have, we know a thing or two about, in even in food service. I mean, there are standards for wearing gloves.
Sure.
You got to change your gloves after every time you touch something.
Right.
I think that there's probably a misconception out there about, well, if I wear gloves, I'm okay.
Yeah, you might be okay because your hands are protected, but yeah, I was always taught that your gloves are, when you put gloves on, those gloves are your hands. So if you're wearing gloves and touching a surface, any other surface that you touch with that same pair of gloves on um, is prone to contamination. So yes, I agree 100% with you that frequent and maybe even over frequent changing of gloves is paramount, um, coupled with copious hand washing. But yeah, we're you see a lot of things online of people going to the grocery store with gloves on and basically doing all their shopping with gloves, pushing the cart, bagging their groceries, going to their car. I mean, from a contamination standpoint, it really is no different than just using your hands. You have touched multiple surfaces, and everything that's ever touched those surfaces. So gloves are a great line of defense. You just have to consciously make the effort to realize what you're touching and what you could potentially be contaminating even when you're wearing gloves. Would you
Sure.
agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's one thing that when I see people out there wearing gloves, I have to bite my tongue and say, "Are you changing your gloves? Because you ought to be."
Oh yeah,
Um,
and I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist, and really, I mean, to each their own. I'm definitely not. You know, I appreciate people trying to keep themselves and people around them as safe and healthy as possible. But yeah, you do kind of scratch your head sometimes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But so lastly, and I would think that a lot of people, if you're the owner of a company, C-level in any way, and you want to minimize as much risk as you can, um, I would it be fair to ask you as my cleaning company to provide a log of when you cleaned, how frequently you cleaned, what areas you cleaned, maybe the products you used? I mean, what would be fair for me to ask of you, my cleaning vendor, so that I can make sure that hey, look, I've provided a safe environment. Here is what my cleaning company has done.
Yes. Um, the short answer is that you're the customer, Ryan, and a cleaning company should be confident and willing to give you whatever information you need or request to ensure your decision makers that responsibility is taken care of. In light of all this, we have several companies that we actually sign a waiver every week on every Monday. I can even send it off. I'll black out the letterhead, but just basically stating that your designated cleaner, John Smith, as well as any other ancillary cleaners who might be there for coverage or for help or things like that, as of this date and going forward this week, do not show any symptoms, do not feel sick, and if they do, they will not enter our facility. We sign it, we date it, we fax it to their HR department every Monday by noon. As far as best practices, chemicals used, things like that, we're doing that a lot more than we have in the past. So in addition to our normal scope of work that we might send out in a proposal, when we first earn someone's business, we are putting together documentation for customers that specifically, gives times, gives our scope of work per area, what we're doing, what we're disinfecting, what we're using. If that changes, let's say we're using a quat, but we've changed vendors. We communicate that via email, give the proper SDSs, everything like that, just so that our customers have peace of mind. We're all on the same page. There's no surprises. And then in turn, it protects us as well. You know, if something were to happen 2 or 3 months later, or we find out about it 2 or 3 months later, we've got documentation as well as our customer does that, hey, we were using this disinfectant in this area during this window of time. This was our cleaner. They showed no symptoms, things like that. Fortunately or unfortunately, this is just part of that new normal. So we have really been tasked with stepping up that portion of our game.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I think that's, that's really it. I had a couple of things that related to the questions that I asked there, but I think that helps a lot for people trying to understand, how do I keep my place clean and safe,
Sure.
more than what I've already been doing. So yeah, I mean, thank you again. That's that. Anybody who has any interest in getting a hold of Tom and his company, please reach out to me directly, and I'll happily put you in touch with him. And he has contact information up there, but he and I communicate frequently. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, Ryan, and please feel free to reach out to me. Appreciate everyone taking the time. Stay safe.